I wanted to show you this video. It's actually 3 months old. From A16Z, you have Ben and Mark talk about new media, how they're embracing a new media strategy. And it's actually very good. And it validates everything that we're doing, right?
That just seems to be the common theme. Like everything that we do, like that we work on, we see, oh, this is what everyone's saying we should do. Oh, this is the right way. Like with everything, whether it's with going, you know, agent first, agent to agent commerce, the media strat, like whatever it is, I feel like we always are right on the dot. Is that the expression?
Yeah. So like, don't doubt yourself. Trust in your instinct and go with it. So we knew that, look, as founders, we needed to be on, we had to have an online presence. We had to basically share our thoughts and our ideas. People want to know sort of like what we think about and our approach to problem solving. And you do it in a very engaging format, using storytelling, right? So that's why we're recording every day, right? We're recording every day so that we can have a docuseries. So this is the summary, the gist of it. I don't know how long is it here. Let's see here. It's 46 minutes. It's a bit on the long side, but this is the summary. Okay, so Mark and Ben explain how VCs are embracing a new media strategy, bypassing traditional defensive PR approaches. So defensive is like, you always, as an organization, as a company, you launch a product as service, and then you get bashed in the marketplace. So, and then hopefully you get invited to traditional media to come in and you can kind of give your perspective, right? So they're embracing a new strategy, right? And so they're moving to more an offensive strategy. And I think this is going to resonate with your training, right, in the military. So centers around direct communication speed and building a media machine. So speed, like, look, we're doing something daily. It should be posted daily. It shouldn't be posted like 5 days later. It's like, so when they talk about news, like when I say like, where's the newspaper? Where's it? Like, that's old news. News today travels at the speed of light, right? People post, they discuss, that's it. They move on.
Oh, Twitter, right? Like Twitter is where you actually get the news now.
Yeah, and then traditional media, what? They pick up the story after a week. They say, oh, this is trending. It's like, it's too late. It's old news. So the offensive strategy is that you embrace these media platforms, right? The end of the corporate brand. People don't trust brands. Like, they trust the individuals working there. So like Scanna, like, who cares about Scanna? But these are the two founders, right? And so you need a face of the organization. So human beings. But what is everybody doing now? AI bots or avatar. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's just stiffless, stiff, like lifeless, like just stiff. Speed. So ODA, right? They've taught you this in military. Observe, orient, decide, and then act, right? This is very, very tactical. If you're moving very fast, your competitor will become so disoriented. It's like by the time they want to take a step, you've already changed the landscape, right? So you know this from your training.
That's the Eisenhower quote of a good plan executed today is better than a perfect plan executed next week or tomorrow or whatever.
And it wasn't it him also something like it's better to lose the battle, but to win the war or something like that. There's an analogy as well as that. It's like maybe it's related to
what's
small.
The meaning of, maybe I can know what quote you're talking about.
Like, don't be late. I guess.
Don't be late.
Don't be late. Oral versus written culture. This is what I mentioned this morning. So short form, this is very good for oral. But when we have the long, deep dive and we're looking at research,
we have to write an article.
You
like
write
an
an article like,
article
what did you
or
guys
something.
learn, right? And then
Yeah.
guess what? Scanna is going to give us the research when we start to say, look, we've analyzed this market, and we do a postmortem, lessons learned. You build IP over time, right? Because
Yeah.
things will repeat. Things will repeat. It's like, you know, like, you know, there's a geopolitical situation that's just repeat. Everything has a cycle, right? There's like these ups and downs, right? So there's two different types of format. He'll talk about sort of like who we hire too. Like they're saying, like we hire someone who just embraces Instagram. They love Instagram. They know how to like create, you know, use that platform like the back of their hand, and so on. So launch a service. So they're trying to do this for their, I believe, for their founders, like the companies that they're investing in. Is sort of, listen, you really need to get in front of your audience. So they've launched a fellowship as well. So they poached actually some pretty impressive, like some people from well-established organizations, probably the ones they've funded and backed, like Kalshi, right? So, and then platform specific. So rather than across, like, yeah, like I hate that. You know, like one click, I can post everywhere. It's like, it doesn't work that way, right? You have to understand, like the audience lives in a different, like you know, the people that go to Instagram are completely different than the ones that go to
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn is just garbage in general. Like
It's garbage. It's just the way to succeed is just you. 100
it's
million,
for
100
great.
million people there is like, you know, just desperate to find, you know, like I really need a job, but they tell me that I need to network. I can't get endorsement. I can't get liked. I mean, you know who's popular on LinkedIn?
Satya?
No, not Satya. Just say hiring. So like a badge. All of a sudden you get 10,000. I guarantee you that you want a growth strategy? Say you're hiring. All of a sudden it's like, you look at all the recruiters and HR consultants, HR professionals, they have like 10,000, 100,000, and they've never posted anything. It's like, why? It's because it's like, oh, I'm going to follow you in case you post a job. And
I need a
yeah,
job.
at the end of the day, they're just going to hire, you know. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, they're like, well, we have a hiring freeze. I was like, then why are you posting? It's like, because we want to still, you know, stay top of mind. Shall we?
Not the whole thing, not the whole 46 minutes here,
Well,
right?
there are chapters. Well, I'll jump to the right chapters, okay? But this will set the stage. And I mean, I just basically described the whole thing, right? So
Ben, you had this quote which I think summarizes some of the one of the main principles of new media. I just want to, you know, read a small part of it and then have you elaborate. Uh, Old media is defense oriented. In new media, offense is always better than defense. We've spent many years fretting about our results being leaked. Old media tries to please every audience. Old media is terrified of upsetting people, and new media only cares about being interesting. When in doubt, flood the zone.
Yeah. Yep. That sounds like something I said.
yeah. So moving from offensive to defensive, they talk about that here. The death
Well-
of the corporate brand. So this is where it's sort of like we want to talk to the founders.
Almost, I don't know, like shock therapy or something, where it's just like, if the people who are actually making the calls actually like show up and talk on their own behalf and explain themselves and actually say what they think, it like blows everybody's minds, right? It's just, you know, it's the, you know, it's the response people have to, you know, Elon. It's the response people have to, you know, certain other, you know, people who are now, you know, kind of very notable in environment, who are running large things, who are very public and vocal.
So basically, that's here at 7 minutes. Is that people want to talk? You know, they don't want this highly sanitized, you know, yeah. That's like nobody cares about that anymore.
Well, I have a question. What does being offensive mean for us, like
What
with
do you mean?
Scanna?
What do you mean offensive?
Like being on the offensive
Oh,
side.
offensive.
Yeah.
Being on the offensive?
Yeah. What does that mean for us? Like, what is that? Is it okay that I bash some
No.
people?
That's
No?
offense. That's no. You're thinking no. There's two things.
No, I know there's offensive and there's offensive.
Oh, okay,
I'm
yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
offensive, right?
Like get it.
The
Yeah.
opposite of defensive.
So you're
What does that mean for us? Like, what does that mean?
It's being being transparent, being honest, being authentic. Like we have to work on this. This is broken. We need this fixed. Oh, this didn't work. This is, and we're upfront about it. We're saying this is a whole experiment, right? We're not even sure if it's actually anybody's going to be watching, if anybody's going to like sign up. We don't know. So being on the, so rather than saying like we show this pristine, amazing brand, and then people will bash it like these guys don't even have any, and then we're like no. Do you know what I mean? So on the offensive is like nobody needs to bash us because we bash ourselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, that's what it means.
Yeah.
It's like it's mom spaghetti. Like
Mom spaghetti.
it's like Eminem,
Oh.
where he's like palms are sweaty, like it's mom spaghetti. He bashes himself so that his opponent in the rap battle couldn't bash him, right?
It's like a bully 101, right? Like a bully can't bully you if you just say it's like you're fat. Yeah, like I know I'm fat. It's not fun anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I think the old ways, like they're very defensive, right? So think of the dinosaurs, but now we want to see is like, okay, your thing didn't work. It's like, yeah, we know, we're working on it, right? But we really wanted to get some feedback from you.
Yeah.
It's just kind of this thing of like, and it's almost like this thing where it's like, well, they can't say that, and it's like, well, wait a minute. Number one, they can say that. Like,
so now, like, see you as a founder, and you've got like short form, long form, whatever. You can come and say whatever you want, right? You don't have to wait for someone to like the 6 o'clock news to talk about you. It's like, no, anybody's just like, the distribution is cheap now. It's like nothing. So that's on the 7-minute mark. But let me get to the UDA framework.
One is I want you to explain the Boyd loop and why that makes Twitter and social media so much more powerful in terms of forming consensus. And then the other is the difference between written and oral culture and what's prioritized in as we transition to oral.
Yeah. Okay. So these are both long topics, and so I'll try to do the Cliff Notes version. So I'll link to the book on this. But in military theory, there's this concept called maneuver warfare, which basically just says like speed wins. Like speed wins as compared to mass winning. Speed wins. And so if you believe that, then there's basically this framework called the OODA loop, OODA loop, which originally was developed for fighter pilots and then later for broader military strategy. And the OODA loop, what OODA stands for, it's an acronym. It stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, Act. And so it's basically the decision-making cycle, right? And so, observe is like view the outside world. Orient is like figure out where you are in respect to the outside world. Decide, of course, decide what to do. Act, act. And basically what this guy Boyd, who came up with this idea, said was like any any fighter pilot, any military operation, any basketball player, any company, any government, basically it goes through a decision-making cycle that's like that in order to make decisions. We just talked about it. The New York Times has their own OODA loop. It's like 24 hours to go through their process.
So this is like the New York Times. For example, they have a well-structured pipeline, like from when you create the story to like publishing it. It's a 24-hour cycle. Like it needs to move fast. But as founders, you got to go much faster than that. Much more faster than 24 hours.
Right. And basically what he said is like, if speed is the thing that matters, then the person who gets through that cycle the fastest is the one who's going to win. But he said there's a second order thing that happens. So one is just like, is your OODA loop faster than the other guys? So that's one question. But he said the other thing that can happen is if you can have a sustainably faster OODA loop processing cycle than the next guy, then if you think about what happens, like let's say it takes you an hour to figure something out, it takes the other guy 2 hours to figure something out. Think about what happens is like, okay, you start out on an even playing field. You both start your decision making cycles. You make your decision within an hour. The other guy is still, say, is inside his own OODA loop when you make your decision, right? And so you make your decision, you act within an hour. He's only halfway through his process. He now has to start his process over, right? Because you've changed the landscape, you've changed the parameters of what's going on. So he now has to go back and re-observe and reorient and start over, right? And then of course project forward. It's like, okay, then you decide again within an hour, and then by the time he gets halfway through his process, he gets interrupted. He has to go back. And so what he said,
I really think that's what's happening between OpenAI and Anthropic.
Yeah,
they're disrupting their each other's loops, you know. But I think definitely Anthropic is disrupting the other loop. We saw that with the new Codex, ChatGPT, whatever, and what? Not co-work,
it's
work.
just work.
Yeah, work and that stuff. So, um,
Is if you can be sustainably faster at running your decision loop, you can get inside the other guy's loop in a systematic and perpetual way. And basically the result of that is psychological breakdown.
which we saw a number of people get on what, you know, they have a psychological meltdown, right? But defending their company valuation and their platforms.
Alex, I think Alex.
Yeah. But this is, you and I talked about this, is like the fact that we're so small, lean and nimble, and we want to keep it that way, allows us to really move fast, very, very fast. Every day we come here, we look at what's trending, what's new, what's the latest development in open source, new tooling, new data pipelines, whatever. It's like, okay, let's get that integrated, boom, and test it the next day. So
Yeah.
we move a lot faster than, let's say, a traditional organization.
And I mean, even if we scale, I would not want to scale past like 5 people, you know, or
7
maybe
is
like
the max.
10
Yeah.
max, you know. But like, and I gave the example about like special forces, right? It's like you want a lean team that has like perfect synergy. I hate that word. Um, that are highly specialized and motivated, and you know, like I just feel like when a company has like 300, 500 people, inefficiency, management inefficiencies, like so many problems happen, and it's like you only need one bad apple whole system. So um yeah, personally I feel like, I know we've done a lot, but I always feel like we're not fast enough, you know? Like we need to go faster and faster. Like we are going like pretty fast, but I just don't know how we would go faster. It's because like I literally spend my whole day working. I don't I don't have weekends. I work I wake up, I think about Scanna, and I go to bed thinking about Scanna and the whole day, minus like lunch and like breakfast and like Scanna is all I think about. So I genuinely don't know how we could go faster. I feel like one thing is skills. Like our skill set, like we're not good at content creation. This is something that's very difficult for us, right? Because we don't have experience doing this live and actually publishing and actually like speaking to a camera. That's one thing. The other thing is, in terms of like go to market, even though I've done sales, it's a whole different game when you're trying to like sell your own thing online, right? It's your baby, you're attached to it. When you're selling some, you know, funded SaaS, whatever, like some fintech, you don't care, I could make that. But like when it's your own thing, I feel like you have this attachment to it, and it's like you don't, I don't know, like I want for us to have a clear vision of how we're actually going to get our revenue. Like how are we going to be able to get to whatever amount MRR as quickly as possible, right? Because that's obviously our objective. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Like we only have a certain amount of runway, so we should constantly be thinking about like, okay, how do we get the MRR to this amount? um
Yeah, I mean that's what everybody out there is trying to figure out, right? It's like how do you create value and the market rewards you for that value that you
there's
create.
short-term games and long-term games, right?
Yeah.
Like content is a long-term game.
Yeah.
Content, it takes time to
So I think he touches on it, which is
Okay.
some creating something that is educational entertaining, that's valuable. You know what I mean? Like it's something that's going to solve a real problem, because then you're just building a solution in search of a problem, right?
Mhm.
And most founders are doing that. Like how many friggin' AI companies are just a wrapper of Claude or open AI models? It's
Yeah.
like, do I really need that? No. So I think he's going to touch on it. It's sort of like then it doesn't become traditional marketing. You're not creating decks and telling you, giving me specs. Us founders were using this platform to really demonstrate it in action. And it doesn't have everything. Like today, it doesn't. It lacks so many things that we envision that one day it will have these capabilities, but right now it doesn't. So ultimately, can you build a platform that could actually predict the future? Like,
Yeah.
how much is that going to be worth? Like probably infinite. I don't think we'll ever get there, but could we at least, the information that's out there, gather it and then act on it, or even just like be well-informed citizen? Isn't that what we all want, right? As opposed to listening to like,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Anyway, so let's see what he wraps up with over here.
Basically, you destroy the psychology of the other side, because they just simply they just can no longer operate or function at all. They just like basically go into complete panic. Nothing seems to make sense. They can never get oriented. They can never make decisions. They can never they become completely defensive, completely responsive. You completely dominate, basically the playing field. And he was a famous fighter pilot. He was a famous fighter pilot called 15-Second Boyd, because his claim was, which was true, is he could beat any other fighter pilot in dogfight within 15 seconds. Using this method. And so it's basically this premium on speed and quality of execution, such that you are actually causing the other side to have a psychological break. By the way, again, go back to I think this is also a big explanation for what's happened to traditional media. The fact that the internet moves events so much faster, and the sort of internet collective crowd decides what's important so much faster, causes all the people who were television producers or news editors who thought that they were in charge of the narrative to just basically have a psychological breakdown. Like, how can you even function when the internet is just basically cycling much faster than you could? And I think this, by the way, the same is true of companies. This is what Elon does, to his competitors, like in the defense, in the aerospace industry. This is what Anduril's now doing to companies in the defense industry. This, quite frankly, is what we try to do, to our competitors in the venture industry. So that now, to do that, you have to be willing to commit to being fast, right? And so you can't have long bureaucratic processes. You can't have a risk adverse posture. You can't stress. You need enough time to make the decision properly. But you can't run the fully deliberate strategy that a lot of companies used to have in the past, where it was days to weeks to months to figure out what they were going to say about something. By the way, in politics, they adapted to this probably 30 years ago. With the concept of the war room. And there's a famous documentary in the Clinton campaign, and I think it's 88, where they're called The War Room, where they show this. And now they call it rapid response. And if you go to basically any political operation on the internet right now, they'll have an X account that's literally, they call it like rapid response. So it's like, actually Department of War has one, just as an example, Department of War rapid response. And it's literally like they're responding in real time to stuff that's happening, because they want to stay inside everybody else's OODA loop. Okay, so there's that. And then, the oral versus written thing it would probably take an hour to kind of go through the whole thing. But the long and short of it is there's basically, in sort of human culture, there's kind of two ways to communicate. There's two fundamental modes. There's oral communication, there's written communication. Oral communication, is the original form, and you could think about it literally as like people around a campfire telling stories, singing songs, reciting poetry. You can think about written communication would be, kind of famously the book, or the scientific journal article, right, or the math equation, or the business plan, right, a written artifact. And that basically the characteristic of orality or oral communication is it's sort of inherently emotion first, right, because it's literally live interactions with another person. The characteristic of written communication is sort of abstraction, and then hopefully logic, the scientific method, intellectual rigor, analytical rigor. It used to be the case that you could kind of really divide these, in traditional mass media. It used to be the case you could say that like newspapers and magazines were written, and so they would be like more calmer and more dispassionate. You could say, television was oral, right? It was literally people talking. And so it was going to be much more emotional and hot-headed. Basically like, that's all broken down because of everything we've talked about. But the modern version of that is like the internet. Like, okay, is the internet an oral culture or written culture? And it turns out the answer is the internet's both, because the internet is everything, right? It supports every kind of media. And so a YouTube video, well, let's say for sure, a short form TikTok or Instagram reel for sure is oral culture. Like it's something short and bursty and emotional and interpersonal in its experience. A long form Substack post is for sure written culture. But then things get more complicated, because a short tweet, even though it's written, is actually an oral culture thing, right? Because the fact that it's short means that it has to be like this, again, this sort of this burst of sort of say triggering emotionality in order to go viral. So actually tweets, I would say, are oral culture, even though they look written. And then long form podcasts are actually written culture, even though they look oral, right? Because if you're going to talk about something for 3 hours, like that's necessarily something where you're kind of getting into abstractions and depth, beyond just kind of a flash moment of emotion. And so the internet lets you kind of play with these formats and the kind of impact that you want to have in a way that, in the past was kind of determined by exactly which fixed media you were in. But, and look, we all live this. Like, if you want to have the internet experience of like doom scrolling and getting really pissed off at the world, like you go to TikTok and X and you can do that. If you want to like learn a lot of stuff, you can go on Substack and long form YouTube podcasts, and you can live in that world, and like you can raise your IQ a point today. Like it's absolutely amazing. And so there is a choose your own adventure aspect to it. And then of course we firms like ours need to think hard about how we communicate because of the differences.
I love that as a segue, because it just emphasizes how different every platform
Pause.
is, and it's not a lot of people or companies.
So this actually ties to what we were talking about before we started watching this video, how we have to of using short form content as a way for people to discover, or as a funnel to our long form content, to then actually give a fuck about us and what we're doing, and Scanna to then potentially use our products, sponsor, whatever it is, right? So we don't want to stay in one format or one style. We kind of want to mix between them. And what's cool is, like, I think starting with the written content or the written format is better, because you could always find the snippets that make it emotional or oral, right? Like our codex, when we reviewed or talked about the codex advertisement, that's very easy to turn into a whole bunch of short form content, or even just a shorter video.
Yeah.
That because people no one cares about us or what we're doing, right? At this point, it's like the concept that we have makes sense. It's like if people knew Steve Jobs had a full docuseries of how he built Apple, that would be the most valuable thing on the planet, right? But the thing is, no one knows he's Steve Jobs yet, right? So they have to first find a way to give a about the guy. So the thing is, it's like we kind of have to talk about things that people actually care about, or in the short form, trigger their emotions, like the codex release. Everyone knows about that. They don't know us, but we're commenting on that. We're making fun at it. And then through our commentary of a thing that people actually care about, they start digging into us, and then gradually through the long form they start giving, right? So it's that combination of using the the logical or the abstracted type of content, and then the emotional, which is like long form versus short form podcast.
Yeah. Yep. It can't just be the same YouTube plastered everywhere. It's like you gotta figure out how to use these platforms to get engagement. So there was a comment in there saying that who they hire, something like that. It's like who they hire specifically. It was mentioned. It's like, yeah, we like, and not only hire, but this is now you understand sort of like if you, as a founder, and you're doing this, because he talked about like where should you be? Like you should be on X, right? Platform native. Let's see here. Platform. They okay, so they're natives. They understand their stuff. Professionals and highlight. Okay. New Media Fellowship. The This program serves as a pipeline to identify and train top-tier talent who can meet these specific standards from the first cohort of 2,000 applicants. Yeah, they selected 65 of 2,000 applicants. So yeah. So, but you see the bias. The bias is like, oh, we need like a young native, a digital native who understand these social media platforms, because a 50-year-old doesn't really understand it.
And this is completely wrong because Trump understood media very well. He had The Apprentice. He obviously understood reality TV, right? So to say like, well, he's an old head, but it's like, no, he was watching what the Kardashians were doing. He was tapping into reality TV in the early 2000s. Like he understands media. He understood how to sell books, even though I don't think he wrote his book. Like he understands media, right?
He knows entertainment. Yeah.
He was an entertainer.
Yeah. He knows how to engage people, and then you can see the close relationship he has with Mark, right? So yeah. So look, it's totally, it makes it look. It's coming right from the source, right? We should be doing this, and we're doing it.
Yeah.
And look, 16,000 views. Right? Okay, this is a lot of views, but how many people are actually going to act on this?
Well, I don't even see their own portfolio companies acting on it. I see Alex talking more than some of the new companies that they
Today's gonna be a fun.
recently funded.
Yeah.
How the hell is the CEO of Palantir talking more than the guy who just raised a pre-seed? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, that's what it is.
So they call it new media. We also saw Practitioner Media. That's the other one. So that's so in this podcast, I think they invite Mark
Over and over and over again. So like one of these.
And this is
So
where
you'll never know.
he starts talking about the Practitioner Media.
That's a great mental model for it. Think about a last topic for today. I want to close on this sort of the bridge between legacy and new media, because we see, just give some examples. Obviously, the New York Times, they've made the adjustment to the new.
Do you hear the static?
No, let me hear
They
that.
have static.
Let me hear it. I want to be validated.
But you'll never know.
Yeah. That's a great mental model for it. Think about a last topic for today. I want to close on this sort of the bridge between legacy and new media, because we see, just give some examples. Obviously, the New York Times, they've made the adjustment to the new world
I heard the
very
static.
well from a business perspective. We had
Maybe that should be like the product is like, guys, you want like static free, like in the age of media, you should be building the shells, right?
I mean, I told you I want to get into hardware, but it's like
crystal clear audio. Imagine that, crystal clear audio. I mean, I would
I
expect.
wanted to get into chips.
I would expect like Rode to be able to do that, but come on, how hard is it to create some CDNs around? Like, go to Amazon and get some CDNs, and then friggin' connect this. Give me a dedicated peer to peer. No.
It's not big enough of an issue, right?
It's not. Like, listen to this shit.
CBS acquired the Free Press, and so there's some acquisitions there.
We should tell them you should disable the experiment in Brave. Who's probably using
I think they're using
Riverside, probably, right?
Riverside, yeah, most likely.
Yeah, but remember how you said you want the bottom third is
larger.
real? I mean, that's massive. It's huge.
Well, theirs is a little large, but I feel like
resistance for
ours
legs.
is way too small. Ours is way too small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was intentional. It was intentional. It was just enough to kind of like make you curious.
Yeah, I think we just have to make it just a little
media companies
larger.
Okay. So, but that's a substantial height. But you know why it needs to be bigger is because of this stuff, right? The junk that comes up from YouTube, right? Because otherwise ours is like it's overlapped with all the controls.
That's true. Yes.
We're trying to innovate. On MTS ourselves, we're sort of experimenting with with players from both worlds. We have the new school of podcasters and Twitch streamers. Theo, are you 21 years old?
Yeah.
20.
This guy's 21.
Holy shit.
Looks older than me.
He's born to be a Twitch streamer, but we also have.
I mean, 21. I mean, over the hill.
Yeah,
So I'm like the dinosaur.
exactly.
Well,
Dude, I'm
Has been by
how
now.
old's the other
Gray
guy?
hair.
Yeah, he's 21, so how old's that guy?
Ooh,
How old do I look, like, genuinely, if you didn't know me?
I think Mark is in his mid 50s. This guy's in his 20s. I'm not sure about him. You look you're like in your 20s.
Actually, I look like I'm in my 20s,
28, I would say.
but that's exactly my age. I feel like you're not.
Yeah.
I feel like you're not, like,
Yeah, but do I look like I'm in my 60s?
you're not in your 60s. You're pushing 50,
Yeah.
right? You're
Yeah.
50. But no, you look like you're in your late 30s.
Yeah. I still get ID'd.
It's just the hair thinning. That would be the only
But
thing.
it's been thinning since I was 17. Like it's the same hair. It's just thin hair it's not thinning. It's always been thin.
It's always been thin.
Yeah.
Oh.
I had teachers that would hover over my head and be like, "Oh, you're going bald." And they would touch my hair and play with my crown.
Yeah, we don't have that gene in our family, but
Gene or policy of touching students?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess, I don't know, you maybe start with data, right? So the data shows that basically, just to focus on American data because of what I'm most familiar with. So just in the data, you basically see a couple things. So one is trust in centralized institutions of all kinds is collapsing in the U.S. So basically, any kind of legacy or incumbent institution, trust is collapsing fast. By the way, that collapse in trust didn't start with the internet. It actually started around 1970. It's part of this. It's part of this. WTF happened in 1971. Meme is when basically trust in centralized institutions in the U.S. started to fall off a cliff. That's true for many kinds of centralized institutions, and it's been true for basically 55 years. But media is included in that, and so trust in centralized media is collapsing, and keeps hitting new record lows. Basically, every time they run the survey, it collapses further. And so that's certainly true. And then the business version of it is just very clear, which is we were talking about CNN later, like you're earlier, like ratings for all the centralized media properties are in full scale collapse. Cable news is collapsing. Almost every newspaper has collapsed. Almost every magazine has collapsed. Basically all the legacy formats have collapsed. With only very, very rare exceptions. And so, and then by the way, correspondingly, it's just sort of obvious, the rise of podcasts obviously is obvious now. And by the way, it's amazing. Like the election of 24 was the one where podcasts kind of flipped it went from being like, I don't know if this matters to like all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, wow, this matters like a lot. And so the rise of podcasts, of course, is undeniable at this point. The rise of social media, the rise of live streaming, these things are clearly happening. And so like the changing of the guard, reordering of the businesses and of the cultural and social phenomena are clearly happening, and I think are undeniable. If you extrapolate it forward, like obviously essentially all of the remaining old media properties that don't figure out a way to adapt to the new world are gonna, they're gonna get basically run by private equity, and that'll be that. Which is kind of the story of the newspaper industry these days. So I, that like, it's almost like not even interesting to say that anymore, just because it's so obvious that that's happening. And then, obviously social media, continues to grow as a phenomenon, continues to be very important. And so, yeah. And, look, we're still living in this, we're still living in a hybrid world today. Right. And so we're still living in a world in which, like, to some extent it still matters what's on TV, but like not nearly as much as it did, but pretty soon it's not going to anymore. So so that world is changing fast. I just think, the main thing is going to be, the people who adapt to that are the people who adapt to that are going to adapt to that. And they're either going to adapt or they're not. You mentioned Mark Halperin, who's a good friend of both of ours, I think is doing like an amazing job adapting to that. And in a way that's just like, I would say, shockingly different, and better than, most of his former colleagues.
Okay. So nothing's new here. So we know that the decline of legacy media, and they have to adapt and pivot and change. So, and I told you, like my experience working with seeing that transformation, that change, that pivot, as they said, we're now we're a data company now. So they moved from just media, news, traditional news. Now they're a media company, and a third of their revenue was monetized just through data analytics.
Yeah, I
And
mean, when you told me about how they run things at it was you can bleep everything, right? It was so clear that it's just it, they're the players that are just not adapting are just it's because they're too big to lose at a certain point, right? It's like, you know, can keep doing legacy media and nothing's gonna really happen because they're just their new strategy once they get that big is acquire the small guys, acquire, right? But like, what was the point I was trying to make?
so let's just take it right. Take us, I mean, right to the source. 59 seconds. There it is.
This is the practitioner media, practitioner-driven media. So people who are actually doing a thing, showing up and talking about it. Right. And of course, that
You're off. You're off frame.
It's because my ass hurts.
Okay, so
at least a howls of outrage of that's not journalism if you don't have somebody asking like whatever super snipey critical questions about it or what.
so the fact that it's two of us, like, like good cop, bad cop, like like we're challenging each other because we're both founders,
Yeah.
right?
Whatever. But like the idea for somebody who is actually doing a thing, I mean, Andre Carpathian AI, right? It just like shows up and like explains like here is how this all works. Is just like amazing. And in old media, like basically like when I was younger, like Charlie Rose did that. But so I grew up actually listening to Charlie Rose, watching Charlie Rose. But Charlie Rose literally was on at fucking midnight.
Yeah,
like
midnight.
He was on CBS at midnight, and he would have these hour-long conversations with.
He's in a dark studio.
I'm just searching. I just see a picture of an old guy.
It's really good. He's really, really awesome. Great format, amazing. I mean, I used to watch it all the time.
Okay.
These super interesting people doing super interesting things, but he was on at midnight, and you had to stay up to midnight to watch Charlie Rose. Right. And it was one of the great things about getting a DVR is you could record, Charlie Rose and watch it during normal daylight hours. But we lost that, or we didn't have that for a very long time, and we have that now. And so I do think it's worth noting, like there is this incredible, in my view, clearly incredibly positive, informative, educational, super helpful, super constructive thing on the other side, which is of course a lot of what we try to do.
Okay. Anyway.
So in a nutshell, right?
Yeah.
Keep doing what we're doing. We educate, we entertain, we build, and we throw in our 2 cents in there. And if anybody's watching, hopefully they learn something. That's essentially it. So,
Or, the most likely thing is we make it and we go big and then people realize the value. It's like what I said about like imagine there was a docuseries about Steve Jobs building his company. It's like no one knows Steve Jobs then, but after Apple is Apple, then you'd be like, holy shit, you need to watch this. Right? But we'd probably remove everything from the internet anyway.
yeah.
Like if we reach that point, we'll probably
Yeah.
cut it.
So 4 has been posted. 5, 6, 7, we'll post them all at once. And today is the 8th, right? So today is number 8, episode 8. So we have a lot for today.
Did we film earlier today or?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. We went through the headlines and we looked at some prediction markets, and we looked at 1 or 2 research papers, and that's about it. So it's almost it's 9:30 right now. So I may start 5, cut it right away, very quickly, but I won't post it until tomorrow. So
Okay.
for you to kind of take a look at. Okay.
Don't stay up too late. I'm like, yeah, don't stay up too late.
Anyway, okay. Have a good night. Bye.
Good night.